a great second half for Georgia's offense against Clemson after a little concern after the first half. No touchdowns in that, 6 points overall. Some great special teams. Woodring. Woo! Some kicks there. Brent, Georgia's offense overall, as we get into Film Don't Lie here, Georgia Clemson, Georgia's offense, brought to you by ASW Distillery, brought to you by Breda Pest Management, and Oconee Gold Barbecue Sauce. Were you worried after that first half when moved the ball some, especially second quarter, just didn't have any points to show for anything, and Clemson's defense was playing well?
Yeah, and in terms of worry, no. One, mainly because Clemson's offense, I had zero fear of that whatsoever. But also, Georgia was kind of beating itself, and you had a few misses at certain points from Beck, and then you had hesitation at the running back spot a little bit early. And then Frazier came in and kind of opened things up as well. But I wasn't ever really worried. It's just a matter of consistently playing, and then once they got into the play action game and were able to get some explosives, that's when. And I think, in terms of identity, and we think projecting more to these future games, Kentucky, Alabama coming up sooner rather than later. But are they a run to throw team, or are they a throw to run team? In the past, especially the past few years, it's more been throw to run. I don't really know what it's going to be, but it's obvious once the combination of the two got rolling, and the play action to me in this game opened up the running game more so as you went further into the game. So it's always going to be that.
First play that we highlight here is not something that I think we're going to regularly see, but it is good to see that Carson Beck has this in the bag here. I thought best run of his career at Georgia, even with a little, I'm assuming this will be in team meetings, a little cartoonish stumble here at the end.
Yeah, a little bit of, and little turf monster got him,
yeah,
basically. But, I mean, we've seen him see lanes, and, even in this game, saw a lane, go get the first down. But the move in the pocket, accelerate, make a move, and then try to make another move, hadn't seen that. And when we talked about his growth from a year ago, what's the next step? The next step is the playmaking skills. And there's a couple spots in this game where you could see that little bit of ascension in terms of how his overall play, like his grade, I think was in the upper 60s, slightly above average, because he didn't push the ball down the field. There wasn't just big tight window throws that had to be made, but he was definitely making plays when he had to. And there's the throw to Humphreys that we highlighted in another video. Beautiful.
He's not a running quarterback, but he's mobile enough, and to be able in your own territory on third down early in the game when you're just, trying to find your legs, which is a really funny phrase to say here. He did. This is fantastic.
And their pass rush and their front four defenders are really good.
Yeah.
And you're maneuvering around them. And by the way, the fight from the offensive line here, phenomenal.
Let's get to Branson Robinson here in the game.
I think when you look at his struggles in the game, 7 carries for 12 yards, obviously it's a combination of blocking, offense in the game. And early in the game, I think Clemson's defensive line did some things like his first carry. They ran a twist. DeMonte Capehart, 19, came wide open, made the play right there. That's nothing that he can control. But there was hesitation. And you can see that. And anytime you see hesitation.
He came off a surgery that was very difficult to overcome, and an injury.
Oh, yeah.
That's so, he's going to play his way back into this. He had a really good fall camp from anyone that I talked to, and I think it's going to be a super.
Oh, looking at him. So watching him in drills, he looked phenomenal.
I just don't want anyone to sound the alarm of what's wrong with Branson's fine. He's going to be really good for Georgia this year. And I even thought, in going back to watch this, just some of the blocking in front of him wasn't great, and it just happened to be that it was he didn't commit probably as soon as he will need to in the future. And I agree with you there. Get more committal, more explosive. That's coming.
Well, I don't think the explosiveness is the problem. It's just a feel and trusting yourself. Mm-hmm. And that comes with just playing more. And I think he's going to do that. Now, going back to the snap of this. All right, so the defensive lineman, pause at the snap, that is inside Oscar Delp right here. He's inside eye of him. There's You got a safety in a corner. He's going to be working the outside. This is a pin and pull. You got two guys pulling around Truss and then Jared Wilson. You've got to get his outside shoulder. You just have to get his outside shoulder. And to me, it's one of those where it's like, yes, by the way, he's also getting pushed in the face a little bit there. But watch his first step to me. That's where and we highlighted this a couple times last year. The first step, it looks kind of side to the side a little bit, but it's more forward. And when you know you've got to reach that guy's outside shoulder and you've got to get your head to his outside, that first step to me is where he got beat there and where this play just kind of got stalemated. And then now there's no sort of clear line of sight for the blocking. Wilson has to look inside, and now there's all sorts of hesitation as opposed to this hitting right outside the 4 and the 0, which, by the way, there's still one player that's not blocked here. But you at least give your running back an opportunity to maybe make a play. So just early struggles. And by the way, Clemson's defensive line is really good, and their front six is really solid. And it was the first quarter, not the third quarter. You're muted, by the way. Don't forget that.
And if you go back and watch the video that we did with Georgia's defense, Clemson's offensive line, they were running into each other.
Yes.
So
Georgia did not do that.
No. At least not not enough that it made a difference. So it happens sometimes.
This was almost an early sort of game-changing play. Clemson sits in a quarters look with some man up the middle covering the seam. And Terrell in the corner has it's just him and Bell on the outside. And he squats on this. And I think if he anticipates the throw being a little more inside like it was, he tries to jump the ball and maybe picks it off. But he just went and tried to deflect it and played it there. But
this is when you're glad that Carson Beck has that arm strength.
Yes. Arm strength saved this from being an interception. And it's one where I think he just there was an assumption there of having room, and Terrell just made a good play.
And Clemson has good defense. This is going to go underrated from Clemson's defense. I think is really good. I do think it's in the upper echelon of what Georgia will face this season.
Especially the front four. It's just a matter of do they have depth to, and this is going to be interesting to watch them over 4 quarters with every team they play. There's every quality team they play.
Beck was clean most of the day, but he did take a hard hit here, first quarter, 3rd and 4.
And we talked about how they would bring at least sort of lots of fronts, various blitzes, and they did. And he got rocked here.
But he got rid of the ball, got it out of there. You have to give him credit for that. I know Georgia wants the first down here, but someone in your face, you get rid of it.
The interesting part about the play is from a call standpoint versus this is one where you make a call based upon what you think a team might do. And early, Clemson kind of pressed up on you like this. They mix of zone and played more zone in the game than they did sort of straight man. But here, in terms of the look, give you a certain look to one side, but this ended up being just straight man everywhere. And the depth of the routes to the wide side of the field, which where he looked initially, it just didn't mesh. And he got beat. And they got you a free rusher, and luckily got rid of the ball and didn't get anything worse.
We're treating this as our line of demarcation, right? Scoreless after a quarter. Georgia's offense hasn't done a whole lot. Clemson's played really well on defense, making open field tackles. So, bit of a stalemate at that moment.
Nate Frazier comes in, gets 5 yards on his first carry before this, and then finally the play action game. And this is one where if you're a Clemson fan, you're sort of scouting not really the greatest because Georgia doesn't really run out of the pistol formation. If they're in the pistol, they're doing this more often than not to throw because they don't do it very often. And it's just a great design to hide Lovett and get him you got a deep route, you got a wheel route, and then you got him slipping out. great design, linebacker plays the run, and you're out of the gate. And now you've got some level of momentum into the game, which it didn't lead to much at the time, but you just didn't make a few plays.
Now, just a personnel note for scouting. If you watch what we do, if you study these players, I would think Clemson would say, okay, Jurasic is more of a passing threat here, right?
He's more receiver than dominant blocker. Yes.
If you're looking for the interior blocker, that may be Lawson Lucky. And you see Jurasic here, just run the man off.
Yep.
Not much interest in blocking, does his job, runs Khalil Barnes off of there. Great play. And I need to stop and say, I thought this point forward, specifically second half, Mike Bobo did a fantastic job for Georgia getting playmakers the ball. And I think, and Kirby even credited Kirby. A lot of times you poo-poo halftime adjustments and all that. You saw them happen in this game in real time. Next up, speaking of, here's Lawson Lucky.
And who's playing? We never talk about replacing Brock Bowers because you can't. But if you look at who's going to play the role of him, from an alignment standpoint and from how the usage standpoint, it was more Lawson Lucky in this game. And that was interesting to see. And he made plays.
Good job,
Got both
Bill.
his targets, one big play. He's physical. And the deep ball that he caught made a really good move to get open. Stopped on a dime to get open against the DB.
2nd and 3. We're in the second half here. This is nifty here.
And this is where we get rolling. And we literally just showed you in the pistol, they're doing this to throw the football. And they basically run the exact same play, but you dress it up differently to get to it. And now Arion is the wheel route. And this is a phenomenal job by Beck of getting rid of the ball when he had to. Because if he sets up to throw this and tries to throw a laser, you might run into other defenders. Other defenders might see what's going on. Whatever the time to get rid of the ball was that moment when he did. Phenomenal job from him. And again, this is what offensive coordinators do, and this is how they should think. It's, hey, I really like this play set, this action, this concept. Now, how can I dress up that concept to make it look different? You've got vertical, wheel, flat, like we just saw. And Arion Smith, by the way. Career high snaps, career high targets, career high catches. Third most, I think, yards in a game that he's had. Like one game he had one catch for 60 yards and a touchdown, and that was his second most. And then the big game against Ohio State. But this was when he had 56, so that was his third most yards he's had in a game. Big for him.
Dylan Bell left the game with cramps, but beforehand,
like we talked about and we also talked about how they play man and what it can do to the defense. But also, this was just, we beat you to the outside with just speed and a little bit of blocking.
Yeah, but not the best blocking.
Well, Lucky, I mean, that's more the defender taking himself out of the play, but you still push him there.
Yeah.
Delp, I think he could have attacked the defender's outside shoulder a little bit more so, but he gets there, gets to him, makes contact, allows Bell's speed. Like if he gets his head on the other side, but still it didn't impact the play. He still was able to give Bell the crease.
I'm glad you said that about Lucky, though, because I think, a lot of times you watch this and you say, oh, man, he doesn't even get on his guy. Let the guy run away.
If the defender wants to take himself out of the play, by all means, have at it, bro.
So, but there's a distinction there of we're not trying to pancake everybody.
No, and blocking is not that, especially perimeter blocking. We've discussed this constantly. Perimeter blocking is letting them go wherever they want to go and then taking them out of the way. And this is what happens. Terrell tries to make a play, and not so good.
Dylan Bell in open field, man.
5 touches for 59 yards for Bell. And if he doesn't go out with the cramps, it's probably more.
I thought this was going to be a touchdown in real time.
I agree. I did agree. Good job. Good hustle from that Wood-ass kid for Clemson.
And then Cass Jones making all of our dreams come true, keeping your foot in bounds, stiff arming guy in the face, pylon.
Jurasic, Delp, By the way, Oscar Delp, first pre-review, 82.0 run block grade. I talked about, is there a leap from him? Because Hartley last year was the first time he hadn't had a tight end with over an 80 run block grade. Sets up well.
I mean, just look at the space that they seal that off, and then let a fast guy go be a fast guy.
And what's interesting, I talked about Cash. I think maybe it was on the radio at one point, and like he's shown that to be a quality back, but not a break tackle back. Well,
hands to the
face. He said, "Shut up, Rollins. You have no idea what you're talking about."
He said, "Give me my money."
Yep, and that when you think about him, Dan Jackson, Arion Smith, these guys that have been around for a while, that have had moments, like Cash had the awesome touchdown catch, against South Carolina or last year. Like he's had moments. Actually, I don't think it was South Carolina. It was Ball State. But now they're in that game. They had to be consistent contributors. They had to be called upon to be the guy in certain instances. Cash made a great block on a 3rd and 9 play to London Humphreys that we highlighted in another video that we did looking at the new players that showed out for Georgia. So playmakers everywhere, guys doing their job. And what's amazing about the game, Georgia scored 34 points against a really solid defense. And they played kind of okay.
Yeah.
Like Beck missed, love it. Do it behind him once on I think it was a 2nd down. Puts it in front of him, it's a touchdown, or it's a huge play.
I'll say
Kobe Young at the goal line.
Beck didn't put the ball in trouble. Except the one that we showed that Terrell, if he makes a play on it. I mean, but even that's such a hard play because Beck rifles it in there.
Yeah, and it's not a turnover-worthy play. Like he had 0 in the game, and if that stays up, Kirby Smart's going to be one happy coach.
Between that and then just getting everyone where they needed to be, being the leader on the offense, I thought that was one of Beck's best games. His stats will not bear that out, but
and you could tell that when Frazier was in the game, he's like, "Hey, dude, over here this time. You're doing this real quick. Like that's fine." And that's what you're a senior who's been there as long as he's been there. Started now in his 2nd year. That's your role. That's the guy you got to be.
With all these running backs that we're seeing, because Trevor Etienne is coming back, and he's a really good football player. RB1 is what we've all been told so far. Branson Robinson, going to get the legs under him, going to get the experience back in there. He's going to be really good. Nate Frazier is going to continue to get carries. So with Cash Jones, maybe Chauncey Bowens gets in there. You just never know. And that offensive line, tight ends blocking. I suspect as much as we hype Georgia's passing attack, and we still will because they have a quarterback that can make all the throws, and you do have a very deep group of receivers and a variety of receivers. I'm curious if the identity of this team becomes our defense is so good and you can't score on us, and we can run on you with so many different kinds of players.
Yep.
And in that way, it's almost like 2017 Georgia a little bit, except maybe you have a quarterback that can make every throw on the field.
That when you have to, you can go just drop back and do what you need to do.
Like if you need to go throw for 380, it's in there. But if you need to, let's get 210.
But if you can physically dominate the opponent and go score 30 while pounding them into submission, that might be possible too.
I mean, historically, Kirby Smart likes defense and don't risk turning the ball over because that makes things hard for the defense. Now, you have to have explosive plays in all kinds of ways. It's a whole different ball game.
Well, it's
back then.
It's since you look at really since Monken transitioned from that first year, because in 2020 it was more of the true Monken offense, and then they learned, they evolved, he sort of blended a lot of the college concepts into that offense and created a true pro style offense. And the balance, having to have balance, and the balance they've had over the years, it tilted a little bit more to the pass game because that's where their best players were a year ago. Now you've got a little bit of more balance in terms of where those best players exist. Just go get the best players the ball. And they did that. They used play action more so. Beck was 10 of 14 for 138 yards on play action. That's where you got the big plays. Just consistently use it all the time. It works no matter how well you run the ball.
Best blends. That's what Georgia's about on offense. And that's what I'm about with ASW Distillery. And this is
Transition.
new blend of their Hunker Bourbon. Buy some of this, and every bit of the proceeds, not every bit of it, but proceeds from this, go to Classic City Collective, which helps Georgia's NIL efforts. There's the Hunker Bourbon, which is brand new. This is like one of the first bottles, so check it out when you get to wherever you buy your spirits. But they've had the Hunker Vodka out for a year, and it did really well last year. Those need to be at your tailgate. Hunker Bourbon, Hunker Vodka from ASW Distillery. Also, Breda Pest Control. Breda Pest Control is the official pest control of the Georgia Bulldogs. They can be yours too. BredaPest.com. And the Oconee Gold Barbecue Sauce is our newest sponsor for Film Don't Lie. Happy to have them aboard. Check out all of their great products. Man, we're up and rolling. Film Don't Lie has
actual games.
We've reviewed our first game. We will review Georgia and Tennessee Tech and likely talk about a lot of young players getting reps in there. Georgia looked great, Brent. They really did.
This is good. I mean, it wasn't Oregon because that was just an offensive onslaught in that game, and then Oregon turned the ball over and helped you create the offensive onslaught. But in terms of just physically dominating the opponent, it was that. It was very much that.
Thanks, everybody, for watching Film Don't Lie.